Hi there everyone. This video is going to go over the answers to pages 63 and 64 in more detail. So feel free to check the answer key first, and then if you need a detailed explanation, you can fast forward to whichever problems you need. The first problem we're solving for p, we're just going to move this entire expression to the left-hand side of the equation. How are we going to do that? Well, it's attached by multiplication to the p, so I'm going to divide both sides by 1 plus RT, and so I get p equals a over 1 plus RT. Using the same equation, now I'm going to solve for t. That's a little bit more complicated, so the first thing I would do is I would distribute, giving me a equals p plus p RT. Then, in order to solve for t, I am going to move the p to the other side. So a minus p equals p RT, and then divide by PR. So my final answer is t equals a minus p over PR. It's also possible, if you did something differently, that you got a over PR minus 1 over r for t. All right, the first problem related to equation 2 says to solve for v. I'm going to multiply both sides by 2 first to get rid of that fraction. So 2k equals mv squared. And now in order to solve for this v, the first thing I do is the second thing that was done to v. So if I think about what happened to v, it was squared and then multiplied by m. So I'm going to divide by m, and I get v squared equals 2k over m, and then I take the square root of both sides to do the inverse operation, giving me v equals the square root of 2k over m. This said solve for v, and we changed it to solve for m. So the first thing I will do is, again, still I'm going to multiply both sides by 2, giving me 2k equals mv squared, and now I just divide both sides by v squared, and m equals 2k over v squared. Problem 3, solve for x. So this is where it gets a little complicated when I have x on both sides of the equal sign. And so I need to move my x's to one side. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add cx to both sides. So I get ax plus cx plus b equals d. Now I'm going to move the b to the right, giving me ax plus cx equals d minus b. And now I have to factor the x out. It's the only way to get that alone. And finally divide by a plus c. So my final answer, x equals d minus b over a plus c. Number 4. This one's pretty icky, but fortunately I have strategies I can use, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is get a common denominator so I can add those, and you'll see why I'm going to do that in a minute. So my common denominator is going to be bd. So I multiply the first fraction by d over d, and the second fraction by b over b, and in doing so I'm going to get adx in the numerator over bd plus bcx over bd equals e. So now I can add those two numerators, giving me adx plus bcx all over bd is equal to e, and then I can simply cross multiply that strategy that we've used before. I can make that into a fraction and cross multiply this side with this side. So what am I going to get? I will get adx plus bcx equals ebd. Then I can simply factor the left-hand side, ad plus bc, and divide through by AD plus BC. So I finally get x equals EBD over AD plus BC. Great, let's go to the other side. Number 5, we have to solve for x. And so we'll just move the 3b to the other side, giving me ax equals 2f minus 3b, and finally just divide both sides by a, giving me x equals 2f minus 3b all over a. Number 6, I also have to solve for x, but this is one of those cases where I have an x term on both sides of the equation. So I'm going to subtract sx from both sides, and then subtract h from both sides, and then factor out my x, and then divide through by r minus s. Finally get x equals negative h minus k over r minus s. You may have done it a little differently and gotten x equals h plus k over s minus r. That's also equivalent. Let's go on to question 7. Again, I have to solve for x, and x is on both sides of my equal sign. So I'm going to need to get x's on the same side. In order to do that, the first thing I want to do is distribute to remove the parentheses. So 3px equals 2qr minus 10qx. Now I can add that 10qx to both sides, giving me 3px plus 10qx equals 2qr. Again, I'm going to factor out the x, leaving 3p plus 10q equal to 2qr, and then divide through by that term that's in the parentheses, giving me x equals 2qr over 3p plus 10q. Number 8, they were very nice. All I'm going to do here is cross multiply, giving me x plus b equals 4c, and then subtract b, giving me 4c minus b. That was a nice one. The next question, the first thing to do is add 7, so I get x over 5 equals 2q plus 7. And then just multiply both sides by 5. I'm going to distribute as I do that, so 10q plus 35. Not too bad. Number 10. Our first matter of business is to get a common denominator, and this one's much easier than the algebraic common denominator we had on the other page. So we get 7x minus 6x over 42 equals AB. So 7x minus 6x is just x over 42 equals AB. Multiplying both sides by 42, get x equals 42ab. Number 11, so here we have another algebraic common denominator, so I will multiply the first fraction by n over n, the second fraction by m over m. That gives me xn minus xm all over mn is equal to 1 over p. I'm going to cross multiply, so I get pxn minus pxm equals mn, and then I can factor out that x, giving me pn minus pm equals mn, and then divide through by pn minus pm, giving me x equals mn divided by pn minus pm. Number 12, basically we can start by cross multiplying since x is just in the numerator there, giving us 3ax plus 2b equals 4cd. Subtract 2b from both sides. Divide through by 3a on everything. And I finally get x equals 4cd minus 2b all over 3a. 13. Solve for m. So if I solve for m here, I think I'm still going to cross multiply since that is a good strategy to clear that fraction. So I get m times t plus n times t equals ms. Now again, I have that m that I want on both sides of the equation, so I'm going to have to move that over. mt minus ms, and I'll just move the nt over to the other side at the same time. Factor out my m and divide through by t minus s, giving me m equals negative nt over t minus s. Last problem. Solve for u, and it's in the denominator. This is a hard one. So again, my first strategy, get a common denominator and then cross multiply. So if I multiply the first fraction by v over v and the second fraction by u over u, I will get v plus u over uv equals 1 over f. Cross multiply, so I'm going to get uv equals vf plus uf. And again, I am solving for u, so I have to bring that other u to the other side of the equation with the first u. So that's going to be uv minus uf equals vf. I'm going to factor out the u, giving me v minus f equals vf. And then go up here. If I divide through by v minus f, I'm going to get u equals vf over v minus f. And that's it. So hopefully this helped you with any of the problems that you didn't get right, and we'll continue with more practice on literal equations next time. Have a great day.